Hello and welcome to the first session of Karen's Colours for 2026. This is going to be one of those monthly colour forecasts, but before embarking on a reading for January 2026, I'd like to remind us all that this is a traditional time to review the past year before setting out our goals and resolutions for the upcoming year. If you've already done those resolutions, then maybe you might like to consider them in the light of what I present today. We're going to be examining the progress made, the setbacks encountered, the challenges that we've overcome, and the work that has been left undone. But before we begin, thank you once again for attending this session. I know that there are not many of you that do so, but I'm certainly hoping that those of you who do will get something positive out of these readings. The reading itself is going to be rather truncated because I'll spend most of the time looking at 2025 in review. We're going to be examining the colours of the main skills and experiences that you've had, the colours of the primary blockages or deficits that have afflicted you throughout the year. And the review will encourage you to think where you're going to go next. There'll be creation of New Year's resolutions that are involved, but those, of course, are very personal to you. And of course, because we make New Year's resolutions, there are lots of goals to be set, lots of ideas about where we want to go next. There is an importance in reviewing past experience so that we can create a future path. And that future path will be denoted by one colour card for January 26. And I'm going to also give you an oracle card to help guide the way. But otherwise, the reading will be extremely truncated. Certainly, enjoy. And now we arrive at the penultimate month. All you people born in November. How did your 2025 develop? You began February, which is when I started these colour readings, with 3 colours that were repeated. Now, all of these, blue, black, and brown, were all about the stability that you needed within your life, and the practical skills that you were developing to go along with those goals, and at the same time, withdrawing from others, keeping secrets, keeping your ideas, your goals, and the things that you were doing under wraps so that no one else would find out about them. By March, that had changed, and now the dominant colours were orange and pink. Pink is vulnerability. It's finding that you've run out of energy and that you need assistance with something. Orange, on the other hand, is being able to survive and to confront whatever crises might come your way. It changed again in April. Now the dominant colours were red and white and purple. Red is all about having lots and lots of energy, being passionate about everything and anything in your life, and it certainly was the most dominant colour throughout the month of April for you. White also occurred a number of times, and this is all about enlightenment. It's about curiosity. It's about coming face to face with reality, whereas purple is all about achieving ideas and impressions that come out of your imagination. So you were putting things into the real world that you had only imagined, and doing so with a great deal of energy and passion. By May, there was a crisis of uncertainty. Orange was the major issue here in that you were feeling as though everything was crashing down around you. You needed the confidence, the ability to get up and to be counted, to show the world what you can do, to survive a catastrophe. The grey, on the other hand, was all about uncertainty. Were you able to do so? Were you going to be able to survive whatever the issue was that had caused such a problem for you? Because by June, there were a whole range of opportunities that suddenly arose for you. You had the freedom to choose from amongst a number of different ideas, skills, potentials. By July, that passion that you'd had back in April had re-emerged. Only this time, instead of being associated with new ideas, with new experiences, and with the destruction of the old, it was now associated with its color opposite, that is, cyan. You had a passion, and at the same time, it was leading you to a state in which you felt absolutely calm and comfortable and blissful about what was happening in your life. In August, you were back to doing hard work. There was another need to reevaluate and to readjust your goals. That was the brown. You had practical skills that needed to be developed. That's also brown, but at the same time, the white that accompanied that tended to suggest that there was an unbridled ambition potential there for you. You could move in any direction at all. What were you going to choose? Well, by September, you'd actually made some sort of choice and were now knuckling down to doing the hard work that was necessary for you to follow through. By October, however, you'd discovered that there were things that you needed to know, knowledge that had not yet been acquired. You might have had the goals, you might have had the ambitions, you might even have had some of the practical skills, but there was knowledge that needed to go along with it as well. During your birthday month, you found yourself once again back in that state of mild confusion. This time it was associated with the sorts of duty and choices that you had to deal with. What did you value? What things did you need to do that you couldn't actually escape? Your responsibilities were still there for you, and even though other opportunities beckoned, what were you going to choose? By December, some sort of choice had been made, and now you disrupted whatever it was you'd been doing beforehand in order to move forward. Purple allowed you to use your imagination to create something that was not there before. The blue, on the other hand, said, okay, let's get this organized. Let's get it into some form that is able to be used comfortably. So all in all, there were three colors throughout the year that tended to predominate, and they were green and brown and gray. Green was all about opportunities and growth and values, and you had plenty of opportunities presenting themselves. You allowed yourself to head in different directions, so that was your growth, and the values that you accumulated along the way made you feel as though you were moving in the right direction. The brown is all about goals and practical skills and being grounded, and here you found yourself able to discern amongst the various opportunities that the green had provided, those which were going to make you feel as though you were stable and established. But at the same time, you also had a fair degree of grey. Now, grey is all about insecurity and confusion and imbalance. You weren't sure exactly which road was going to lead you to the greatest reward. And so you tended to fluctuate between various different opportunities, various different skill sets. So you weren't exactly able to stabilize what it is that you wanted out of life or how you were going to go about and get it. Which of course brings us to the issues that you November people experienced, the things that you were trying to avoid or that were creating problems for you. And in February, we had a number of colors that were missing, which formed the baseline for the year. By March, that baseline had consolidated into 4 different colors that were coming through as being important. They were red, yellow, green, and cyan. Energy and action, thinking and memory, opportunities, which also were a major color for you as a skill, and cyan, which was all about being able to find a peaceful and harmonious setting. By April, the red, the action, the energy had disappeared, and you were left with the yellow, the green, and the cyan. And by May, even the opportunities had dissipated from your problems and become part of your skill set, and instead you were still left with yellow and cyan. Now you were concerned about what stresses you might be putting yourself under, what educational opportunities you were missing, and at the same time there was that cyan. You didn't like the idea of stability and stagnation. By June, it was all just yellow, same in July, same in August, same in September. And in October, you still had a dominance of that yellow. But now, instead of the cyan that you had back in May, you developed blue. Now, blue and cyan are alongside each other on the color wheel. One has to do with bliss and harmony and everything in its place. The other one has to do with duty and responsibility and having to nurture things. So that's what was happening in October. By November, your birthday month, a certain degree of depression had set in and something that you were trying to avoid. You still had the yellow and the blue, so there was still that stress about how much work was there for you. But this time it was also accompanied by orange. Now, orange is all about crisis and drama and overcoming issues through a sense of being strong, being confident, being capable, having courage to face whatever it is that you're dealing with. And now in December, you then got rid of the nurture and the conflict, but you're still stuck with the black and the yellow. And that together tends to suggest that you don't really enjoy hiding your light. You don't really enjoy hiding what it is that you know, but there are secrets that need to be kept and there is stress that needs to be overcome. And both of those are issues that you're still dealing with as you head into 2026. Because black is all about withdrawal and depression and recovery and meditation, secrecy and spirituality, all issues that you really don't have time to contemplate. On the other hand, yellow's excitement and happiness and anxiety and hypervigilance are all issues that require you to be alert at all times. But your memory and your ability to learn new things are things that you are trying to avoid. So all in all, the year is one of vacillating between choices that were available for whatever progress you wanted to make in any direction. But these emerged from an inability to shut down, that is, to maintain any form of secrecy and to manage stress and learning. That is, you didn't like having to keep quiet about the things that you could do. And that may be one of the issues that will lead you towards other problems that could arise in 2026. So let's have a look at what it is that you might need to deal with. Now, while I'm looking for a single color card to give us some sort of guidance as to how to cope with going into 2026 for November birthdays, I also chose the Soul's Journey Oracle cards from James Van Praagh because they offer little meditations, little affirmations that will allow you to think about what it is that you could perhaps be dealing with in terms of guidance for the year 2026. So let's just start with a color card. And what we have here is orange over grey. Now, grey internally is a state of confusion. It's a state in which there are choices to be made, a middle road to be found, things that you need to clarify. And in the real world, that can be quite a struggle because the orange externally means that you need to face up to some realities. You need to face up and overcome the things that have created a crisis situation for you in the past. So together, orange and grey are about standing up, facing the issues that are the dilemmas for you in your life, and overcoming them in a way that enables you to come out on top. Now, what affirmation do we have to go with this? And here we have surrender. The affirmation is, I can release my need to control. I can release my need to control. Control is all about orange. It's about being able to demand that this is the way certain things are going to go because you are the one that has the confidence to face those issues. Releasing that control comes as a result of the grey internally. It comes as a result of finding that middle road. You don't have to be all or nothing, as the black and white that are the component parts of grey would suggest. You don't have to be all in, as someone who is tightly controlled, as the black component would suggest, or as someone who can escape, disappear, make themselves invisible, as the white component would suggest. There is a middle road, a stable road, one that offers you grounding. And if you give up that need to control everything in your life, you'll find yourself far less confused because things begin to work out. Sounds like good advice to me. Well, I hope you received something positive out of that annual review and have taken on board the small colour reading and affirmation as a guide towards 2026. Certainly, looking at these readings from an annual perspective, a retrospective, I've come across a number of insights, both for myself, but also on behalf of those people that I know that have birthdays in the various months that I have been reading for. And one of the things that's come up here is whether or not I would even bother to continue with these. I feel hopeful that I should. I also feel as though I need to make some alterations. If you can think of suggestions that might make these more user-friendly, if you've been following the readings at all, you might even find that there's something in them that you might like to comment about. And I'd really appreciate those comments. Because right now, I'm in a dilemma. Which is why I haven't actually done a full reading for every month, for every birthday month for January. It all depends on the results of this reading as to whether or not I continue. I have a lot to contemplate. My black is quite prominent too. Anyway, if you're new here and you haven't actually seen these before, you might think they're a bit confusing. That's part and parcel of a colour reading. It's something that most people will never have experienced. So I wish you all the best for 2026, and hopefully we'll meet again for more colour readings. If not, plenty of other things I can talk about that have to do with colour. Until next time, bye.